He never thought a blackout in New York would shatter his life forever. In the suffocating dark of a subway tunnel, a single touch ignited something he had buried for years. That stranger's hand became his anchor, his temptation, his danger. But when light returned, so did reality. Lex had another life, another man, a world built on lies that could collapse with one wrong move. Their secret meetings burned with stolen sparks, kisses in the rain, nights in hidden rooms where truth and fear collided. Every moment drew them closer. Every secret threatened to destroy them both. A jealous partner watching, a city that punishes weakness, and a love that refused to be silent said, "This is not a simple romance. It is a war of desire and survival." He chose passion over safety, but in a world built on appearances, can forbidden love ever survive the daylight? Or will the price of one kiss be everything? The car jerked so hard my teeth clacked, then the city went out. Lights died, fans stopped to heat. Dark silence pressed into our faces. Somewhere ahead, metal screamed as the train ground to a halt, and the tunnel swallowed the sound. For a second no one breathed. Then came the layered noisosome cursing, a thin prayer, a nervous laugh that ricocheted off glass. Emergency bulbs flickered and failed, leaving us in the kind of black that eats at the edges of thought. I felt for my phone, dead, no bars, no glow, just my own warped reflection in the blank screen. My chest tightened the way it did when I was 12 and locked in my father's basement for cooling off. The smell here, hot dust, rubber, damp stone, was the same unfair air. I swallowed, my fingers tingled, I told myself to count to 10. I reached 5 before my breath snagged and I tasted metal. Everyone stay calm. A conductor shouted from somewhere I couldn't place. Calm felt like an order I could not afford. The doors had shut like jaws, the windows framed nothing. A child whimpered nearby. Someone pounded the pane with an open palm, and the hollow thuds traveled through my ribs. Choice found me in the dark, sit and shake or move. I slid my hand along the pole, down to the floor, and crouched. Cold grit bit my knees. I drew air slow up my spine, out my mouth, a technique my therapist made me promise to try when panic came dressed as memory. It helped, but only in scraps. Anybody got light? A voice asked. Pins of brightness, Blumidphone torches, shamefully small. They cut slivers into the dark, carving strangers' faces into masks, eyes wide, jaw muscles clenched. Sweat caught on brows like a second skin. The bulbs tilted and wavered, as uncertain as we were. Far ahead, water began to tap from the ceiling patient, metronomic. Drop, drop, drop. Each impact wrote itself into me. The train shivered once and settled again. We're between stations. The conductor yelled, "Closer now." Power outage, hold tight to what? The thought pinged around my skull, to this pole, to myself, to the story I had built of a life that didn't lose control. I looked at the route map above the door, useless in the dark, and tried to sketch the lines in my head. 2 stops from home, 3 from Hymno. I pushed the thought away before it formed a name. This was not the hour to repeat old patterns, to reach for ghosts just because the lights were off. A woman near me began to cry softly, apologizing between sobs to no one. I couldn't see her, only heard the bare, human sound of it. My heart lurched toward her and then back toward myself like a tug-of-war. I wanted to help, I wanted to bolt. I wanted to be the kind of man who didn't fracture when the world did. A man farther down tried the emergency intercom, it hissed and died. Another jimmied with the door with a metro card, as if the tunnel might be safer than this metal lung. Don't, someone warned, third rail. The sentence hung there like a razor. Heat braided itself with the fear. My shirt stuck to my spine. I loosened my collar and found my pulse sprinting. I pressed the heel of my hand to my sternum and felt its drum. I pictured the river above us, weighty, indifferent. I pictured the avenues, generators yawning awake, sirens threading the night. Breathe in 4, out 6, I told myself. It sounded ridiculous, but it was something to do. I counted, and the numbers built a thin bridge over the dark. On 6, a memory slipped. My father's silhouette at the top of the basement stairs, backlit, voice cool and certain as a padlock. You did this to yourself. I shook my head and the vision snapped, movement stirred by my left shoe. A backpack zipper, a whisper, "It's okay." The words landed on my skin like water. I couldn't tell who said them. The dark kept our faces from us, left only the shapes of breath and heat. I discovered I was shaking small internal tremors that didn't show until they did. "Is anyone hurt?" the conductor called. Someone answered asthma, and a lit screen floated toward them like a pale moon. People made a path by instinct. Even in the dark, New Yorkers know how to let the urgent through. Something in me broke at the human choreography, way strangers negotiated fear with tiny kindnesses. I had been so careful not to need anyone. The blackout tore that story at the seam. The air rattled in me. I tasted the salt of myself. I reached for the pole again and missed. My palm found instead the cool edge of a seat in thin-skin. Not slick with panic, not jerking away, warm, steady, fingers that closed around my wrist with a quiet permission as if saying, "Here." Anger here. I didn't speak. Neither did he. The touch said what language couldn't. The tunnel breathed. The train ticked. Water kept time. My pulse, reckless a moment ago, learned a slower song under that grip. Somewhere, deep in the system, a generator coughed. A far-off glow considered us and changed its mind. We stayed in the dark, but the dark felt different, rearranged by contact. "Hold tight," the conductor said again, closer, almost kind. I thought of a voicemail I hadn't returned me father's clipped reminder about Sunday dinner, about keeping appearances. The words scraped me now. Appearances were for daylight. Down here, I was just breath and bone and a borrowed hand. The train lurched an inch. Gasps rose, then fell. I almost pulled away, pride twitching. I didn't. I let the hand hold. I chose it in full view of the dark. Okay. The hand didn't leave until the train coughed back to motion. Emergency bulbs woke in thin strips. Faces reassembled from shadow. His fingers loosened, then paused, waiting for my choice. I turned my wrist and held him back. Small truth, I needed that touch more than I wanted to admit. "Thank you," I said, voice rough. He nodded. Up close, he looked like the kind of man who fixed things himself, dark hair flattened by heat. A small nick on his jaw, eyes steady even as the car jittered. He wore a work jacket not fashionable. It suited him. Alex, he said. The name landed. I swallowed. David, it felt strange to give it in public, as if the dark had changed the rules of names and what they cost. The conductor came through, counting. "We're rolling to the next station, folks. Stay seated." My shoulders dropped by a stubborn inch. Alex looked at my grip. "You okay?" "Mostly." I let go, then took his sleeve again. No, not really a ghost of a smile. Same. The train scraped forward. A minute later the doors yawned. The platform received us like the world after a bad dream, normal at a distance, wrong up close. Service returned in a stuttering wave. Phones lit. The station filled with the mosquito buzz of 1,000 apologies and check-ins. My voicemail pinged 3 times. 2 were from work. The third was my father, older and sharp as a hinge. "Sunday 6, don't be late. We need to talk about your future." The last word rattled something old in me. "You with someone?" Alex asked carefully, hearing the edge in my breath, not the message, only ghosts. I pocketed the phone. "You?" He opened his mouth, closed it. Complicated. The word did its own damage. We moved with the crowd up the stairs, the kind of closeness the city forces until it feels like confession. On the street, generators rumbled, sirens stitched the air. A deli across the corner bled candlelight. "Over there," Alex said. "Owner owes me a favor." Inside, the air smelled like coffee and raincoats. A battery lantern threw a pale cone across the counter. The owner, Renolder, kind ice-handed out cups. "You two from the stuck train?" he asked. We nodded. "On the house," he added, sliding paper cups like absolution. We stood by the window. Our reflections floated over the dark glass. My hands had stopped shaking. I felt it like a miracle and a debt. "I don't usually fall apart," I said. "You didn't," Alex answered. "You asked for help." "I didn't ask." You reached. He lifted 2 fingers to the rim of his cup, a mirror of how I had gripped his wrist. The gesture made something behind my ribs tilt. He wasn't teasing. He was naming. Wren leaned over the counter. "Phone's charging in the back if you need." We thanked him. Alex watched me watch the room. "You wanted to fix it for everyone," he said. "I wanted someone to fix it for me when I was 10. The sentence escaped before I could trap it. Alex didn't fill the silence with a joke. "I can listen," he said simply. I told him only the minimum, the basement, the padlock, the Sundays that were tests dressed as dinners. I didn't say my father loved me. Love wasn't the right tool for what he meant to do. Alex didn't pity me. He believed me. The difference steadied my breath. Why complicated? I asked. He looked down. Because someone expects me home by 10. My chest cooled, then warmed again, conflicted and honest. Wife, partner, he met my eyes. We built a life. It works on paper. We stood inside the truth and let it be hard. He didn't reach for me. I didn't pretend to be noble. Outside, a siren cut sideways, then faded. Wren slid over a plate with 2 halves of a bagel. Eat, he said. I took a bite and remembered I had a body. A guy at the door peered in, holding a flashlight. Power's coming back, he announced. Lights flickered on across the block, small constellations returning. The deli's ceiling bulbs shivered, then bloomed. The sudden clarity felt indecent. Alex blinked and stepped back from the window, as if seen was a danger no candle could hide. He checked his watch, winced. I heard the end of the sentence, even if he didn't say it. Go back to the life that works on paper. Go back before it knows you left. Walk me out, I said. I meant, don't let the lights erase the dark we earned. We stepped into the street. The city had its mask on against, flippant, impatient. I wanted to dislike it. I loved it for the same reason. It taught you to choose fast. At the corner we paused. The signal flashed red. Alex's sleeve brushed my knuckles and set off the small alarm of wanting. I don't know what last night means, he said, then corrected himself. This night. It meant I breathed better when you were near. It embarrassed me and freed me. He exhaled, same. He glanced over my shoulder. There's someone I have to tell the truth to. Not tonight. A beat. Soon you'll call, I asked. There it was, the ask that made me 15 again. He nodded once, decisive as a vow. I'll call. The light turned green. We didn't move. The city flowed around us like a river avoiding stones. He hesitated, then pressed 2 fingers to my wrist, right where he had held me in the dark. A private sign, a promise drawn on skin. I wanted to say his name again, as if sound could keep him. Then he went, quick steps, swallowed by the newly lit block. I stood and counted my breaths to 6 and back again, then turned toward home, carrying the weight and lift of consequence in the same palm. I didn't hear from him for 2 days. New York was loud enough to drown most things, but not the silence of waiting. Every buzz of my phone I checked too fast. Every name that wasn't his felt like a trick. When he finally called, his voice was softer than I remembered. David, can we meet? Where? I asked, sharper than I meant. Somewhere no one knows us, somewhere quiet. We chose a small bar in the East Village. The kind with scratched tables and dim lighting that felt like it existed outside the city. I got there first, sat with a beer I barely touched, counting each tick of the wall clock. When he walked in, the room tilted. Same jacket, same walk, half tired, half certain. He slid into the seat across from me. For a moment neither of us spoke. The silence wasn't empty. It was a storm pressing at the glass. I couldn't stop thinking about the tunnel, he admitted. About you, my throat dried. Then why disappear? His jaw tightened. Because I live 2 lives, one people see, one I keep chained. Meeting you broke the lock. That terrifies me. I should have been angry. I should have walked. Instead, I leaned closer, lowered my voice. You think it terrifies only you. His eyes met mine, steady, dark. He didn't answer. Instead, his hand slid across the table, stopping just short of mine, not touching. Waiting, I let my fingers close the distance. That first brush of skin sent heat up my arm. He exhaled, shaky, as if holding back a flood. We stayed like Thatwo men in a dim bar, palms pressed lightly together like a secret pact. Every detail became magnified, the scratch of his stubble when he tilted his chin, the way his thumb trembled once against mine. David, he said finally, my name rough in his mouth. If I start, I don't know if I can stop. Then don't stop, I whispered. His smile was small, broken, but real. He pulled back suddenly, scanning the room. Only strangers here, none paying attention. Yet the fear in him was real too, stitched into his every move. We can't be reckless, he said. Not here. But when we stepped outside, New York rain had started to fall. People rushed with umbrellas, the streets glistened like black glass. He caught my arm under an awning, eyes burning in the half-light. The kiss wasn't planned, it was survival. His lips found mine hard, desperate, like he'd been holding his breath since the blackout. My back hit the brick wall, his hand flat against my ribs, holding me still. His breath was hot, his body shaking, and mine answered without permission. When he pulled away, rainwater clung to his lashes. "This is wrong," he whispered. "Then why does it feel like the first right thing in years?" I shot back. He pressed his forehead to mine, both of us catching air in broken pieces. The streetlight flickered, and I knew the world would not forgive us if it saw. But in that moment I didn't care. His touch had burned through the rules, and I wasn't ready to let it go. We stood there until the rain eased, until reality forced us apart. He walked me to the subway, hand brushing mine in the shadows, then disappeared into the night with nothing more than a promise in his eyes. I rode home soaked, lips tingling, heart screaming one truth I couldn't silence. I had fallen, and there was no climbing back. The kiss haunted me for days. I replayed it on the subway in meetings in the halves, leap where the city sirens sang backup. Every time, my body remembered before my brain did. The press of his ribs against my palm, the urgency in his mouth, the way he whispered wrong, but held me tighter. But reality has teeth. It was a Thursday when I saw him again, not because he called, but because fate has a cruel sense of humor. I was walking past Union Square, grabbing coffee, when I froze. Alex stood across the street. He wasn't alone. A man walked beside him, older, well-dressed, with a hand resting on Alex's back like ownership. They looked comfortable, practiced. Like history, I should have walked away. Instead, I followed half a block, then another, telling myself it was coincidence, that I just needed to understand. They stopped at a bookstore. I ducked behind a display window, heart beating so hard I thought it would crack the glass. The man leaned in, said something. Alex laughed. That sound had belonged to me in the rain, in the dark tunnel. Seeing it shared made my stomach twist. I almost left right there, but Alex turned his head and our eyes met through the glass. The color drained from his face. He excused himself and came out fast, leaving the other man flipping through a shelf. "David," he said, breathless, "you shouldn't what?" My voice was sharp. "See you smile at someone else. Watch you play perfect partner in daylight." His jaw clenched. He grabbed my arm and pulled me into a side street, away from eyes and ears. The city noise dimmed, leaving only us and the static between. "It's not what you think," he said. "Then tell me, who is he?" Silence stretched. Finally, Alex exhaled. "His name is Mark. We've been together for years. He's home, or he was, until you—" The words hit like a blade wrapped in velvet. "So what am I?" I asked. "A mistake you hide in back alleys?" His grip tightened on my sleeve. "No, you're the reason I remember him still alive. That should felt like victory. Instead it burned. You can't have both, Alex, him and me. You'll destroy us all." His eyes flashed, anger mixing with desperation. "Do you think I don't know that? Do you think I sleep at night?" For a second, I saw the war tearing him apart, Judy on one side, desire on the other. He looked like a man drowning with two lifelines and no strength to grab either. I wanted to believe him. God, I did, but something in me hardened. "Then choose," I said. He flinched as if struck. "I can't, not yet." That answer cracked something inside me. I stepped back, his hand slipping from my sleeve like sand. "Then don't call me again until you can." His lips parted, searching for words, but none came. The silence was heavier than any shout. I turned and walked away, every step sharp and final. Behind me, I didn't hear him follow. The city swallowed me whole, but his face stayed in my chest, a weight I couldn't shake. By the time I reached the subway, I realized I was trembling, not from fear, but from loss that hadn't even had time to exist properly. Love had opened like a spark, and already the wind was blowing it out. I tried to cut him out. For a week I buried myself in work, in errands, in the hollow rituals of survival. New York helped it always does. The city does, and care if you're heartbroken it keeps moving, and you either keep up or get trampled. I thought I was keeping up until his name lit my phone again. Alex. I should have let it ring out. Instead, my thumb betrayed me. "David," his voice rushed through like floodwater. "Please, I need to see you. No." My throat tightened. "Not unless you've chosen." He hesitated, then swallowed. "Not what you think. Just meet me tonight, please." Something in his tone hooked me. Not the lover's plea, but something darker. Fear. We met near the river, the same stretch where Wed stood the night his partner had found us. The water looked calm, but the current underneath tugged like a secret. Alex's face was pale, sleepless. His hands wouldn't stay still. They kept finding pockets, crossing over each other, betraying nerves he couldn't mask. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Mark knows," he said. His voice cracked. "He knows it's you." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean? He followed me last night. Saw me dialing your number. This morning," he said. Alex's jaw clenched. "He said if I don't end it, he will. That hell ruin both of us. My job, your reputation, everything." I looked around, suddenly convinced we were being watched. Every pedestrian felt like a spy, every window an eye. "You should have stayed away from me," I whispered. I tried, his gaze locked on mine, desperate, but I can't, not after what happened between us. I wanted to scream at him, to shove him, to kiss him. Instead I asked, "What do you want from me?" His answer was immediate, ragged, "To feel safe, and the only time I do is when I'm with you." The honesty gutted me. I pressed a hand to my forehead, trying to think. "Then we need space, Alex. If he's watching, if he's threatening, space won't save us. He won't stop." Alex stepped closer. His breath was warm in the night air. "The only way out is through, and I can't walk through this alone." I hated how much I wanted to believe him. Before I could answer, a voice echoed from behind. "You're right. He won't walk through it alone." Mark stood at the edge of the promenade, hands in his coat pockets, face carved from stone. My heart jolted like the train back in the tunnel. Alex spun. "What are you doing here?" Mark's smile was thin. Making sure the man I share my life with isn't throwing it away on shadows. His eyes flicked to me. Or maybe he already has. I swallowed, pulse racing. This doesn't have to get ugly. Mark ignored me. "I gave you a chance, Alex. I begged you to come home. Instead, you chased danger." His voice grew sharper. "You want to burn down everything we built for this." He jabbed a finger toward me. "Stranger." Alex's fists clenched. "He's not a stranger." The words hit like a flare in the dark. Mark's face tightened, rage and hurt mingling into something violent. He stepped forward fast. I thought he'd swing. Instead, he hissed low enough only we could hear. "Both of you will regret this." Then he turned, walked back into the night, and disappeared into the crowd. I exhaled shakily. That sounded like a threat. It was, Alex whispered. He ran a hand over his face. "He doesn't bluff. He'll find a way to hurt us. Then what do?" Alex looked at me like a drowning man again. "We fight or we run." The choice pressed between us, heavier than the city itself. Running meant losing everything. Fighting meant war. Neither promised survival. I stared at him, torn between fear and the heat of his nearness. "I don't even know you, Alex, not really. And yet you do," he interrupted. His hand found mine, quick, fierce, reckless. "You know me where it matters." His grip was strong, but I could feel the tremor beneath. He was scared, and so was I. But neither of us let go. For the first time since the blackout, I realized something. The shocking event hadn't been the city losing power. It was me losing the story of who I thought I was. Alex had set something burning in me, and Mark's shadow was only going to make it brighter. We stood there until the crowd thinned, until only the river kept witness. When Alex leaned in, I didn't pull away. His mouth was urgent, bruised by fear, but inside it was the same spark that started in the tunnel. I let him kiss me like a man at war, and I kissed him back like one who knew battles were never won without scars. I thought I understood fear the night the city went dark. I was wrong. Fear wastes silence in a tunnel. Fear was the ring of my phone 3 nights later. Alex's name flashing like a warning siren. "David," his voice trembled. "He knows where you live." I froze in the kitchen, spoon halfway to a bowl of cereal I wasn't hungry for. "What? Mark? He followed me. He said your name. He said if I don't end this, hell make sure you lose everything." The world tilted. I locked my front door, though I was already inside. "Then why call me?" "Because I need to see you." A pause. Maybe for the last time, the words carried a weight I couldn't ignore. Against reason, against instinct, I agreed. We met in a cheap motel on the edge of Queens, the kind that smelled of disinfectant and regret. Alex was already there, pacing. When he saw me, his shoulders sagged as if the air had left him. "You shouldn't have come," he whispered. Yet he pulled me into him before the door even shut. His mouth crashed against mine, desperate, messy, tasting like salt and surrender. My back hit the wall. His hands clung to me, as if trying to anchor himself to something real. When we finally broke apart, his forehead pressed to mine, his breath uneven. "I don't know how to fix this." "You can't fix something that was built to break," I said. He flinched. "You think that's all this is?" "No." I gripped his shirt, forcing him to meet my eyes. "But I think lies can't carry love forever." He sat on the edge of the bed, burying his face in his hands. He knows where I keep the documents, bank accounts, property. If he exposes me at work, he'll lose everything, and me, I asked quietly. Alex lifted his head. His eyes were wet but sharp. You're the only thing I don't want to lose. That was when the knock came. 3 sharp raps. The sound froze my blood. Alex shot to his feet. We didn't speak, but the truth was already in the room with us. Mark, another knock. Louder. Alex, a voice drawled through the door. Calm, dangerous, open it. Alex's hand trembled on the doorknob. Don't, I hissed. He's baiting you. But Alex shook his head. Hell never stop unless I face him. He opened the door. Mark stepped inside like he owned the space, shutting it behind him with deliberate calm. His eyes scanned me, then Alex. He smirked. So this is where the great romance hides. Classy. Leave him out of this, Alex said, voice breaking. Mark ignored him, moving closer to me. You think you're the first. He's restless. Always chasing fire, never content with what he has. When he burns you, hell come crawling back. My fists clenched. You don't know me. I don't need to. I know him. Mark's gaze cut back to Alex. So, what's it going to be, our life, or this stranger in motels? Alex looked between us, torn open. His lips moved, but no sound came. For a moment I thought he'd choose him. My chest hollowed in preparation. Then he said my name, soft, David. The room cracked with it. Mark's expression collapsed into rage. You fool! He shoved a lamp from the table. It shattered against the floor. I flinched, but Alex stepped in front of me, jaw set. Enough, Alex said. His voice steadied. I won't live like this any more. Mark's eyes glistened with something too raw to name. He stood there, shaking, then stormed out, slamming the door so hard the frame shuddered. Silence filled the room, broken only by our breathing. Alex turned to me. I chose you. His voice was shredded, but I don't know what that means now. I touched his cheek, thumb brushing the line of stubble. It means nothing will ever be the same. We fell onto the bed, not to make love, but to hold on. His body curled into mine, trembling, desperate. I felt the heat of his breath on my neck, the thud of his heart against my chest. It was intimacy born from ruin, the kind that scars more than it heals. In that small, cheap room, I knew 2 things. He had finally chosen me, and the choice had unleashed a storm we might never survive. The motel room was still dark when I woke. Alex's arm lay heavy across my chest, his breathing shallow, restless even in sleep. For a moment I let myself imagine this was ordinary. Men sharing a bed, the world outside irrelevant. But ordinary had never been ours. I slipped out carefully. My reflection in the cracked mirror looked older, eyes bruised by nights that didn't heal. The lamp fragments were still scattered on the floor from Mark's rage. Each shard glimmered like a warning. Nothing breaks without leaving pieces sharp enough to cut later. Alex stirred. You're leaving. His voice was raw, half. Dream? I don't know, I said honestly. He sat up, hair messy, eyes pleading. I can't undo what's been done, but I can try with you. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted it so badly my ribs hurt. But the echo of Mark slamming that door still lived in the walls. Threats don't vanish, they circle, waiting. I walked to the window. Outside, Queens woke slow-eyed delivery trucks rumbling, a man smoking on the corner, dawn bleeding into the skyline. The city didn't care who we were, or what we destroyed to find each other. Behind me, Alex whispered, say something. I turned. He looked like the boy in the tunnel, again lost in the dark, reaching for an anchor. My throat burned. I almost crossed the room. I almost told him yes. Instead I said, I don't know if we can survive this. His face cracked. He nodded once, no anger, just grief. The silence that followed was heavier than words. I opened the door, stepped into the corridor, and let it close behind me. I don't know if he called after me. I don't know if I wanted him to. All I know is the city swallowed me whole again, and for the first time since the blackout, I felt truly alone.